all of y'all. The word influencer has been doing the rounds, and I am sure y'all have been influenced by the friends who are there online to tell us where should we visit, how should we travel, how should we dress, how should we do our makeup. So these are the people who are there on social media helping us to groom ourselves better in every domain of life. Do you agree? Can we have a show of hands who all follows YouTubers or bloggers or social media? Okay, I think pretty much everybody out there, right? And the best part is we will be having some of them take these hot seats to give us the updates on how they have been ruling the travel world so far. Well, are you ready to meet them? Can I hear a loud yes? Great, so they are right here. I'm going to introduce them one by one and they can tell their little story, their way, and then we can take it from there, right? Great, so first I would like to introduce Priyanka Chandola, who is known as the DesiGirl traveler, and here she is to tell her story. Can we pass the mic to her?
Hi everybody, so I'm Priyanka Chandola. I have a YouTube channel, it's called DesiGirl Traveler. So I'm a girl, travel solo, and I experience the place, do the video vlogging. So I cover travel, shopping and food vlogs, pretty much that's all about me, so yeah.
Great, so we'll get to hear more from her. You can take a seat. Okay, now I am going to call upon Sharanya Iyer, who is having her blog and Instagram page, trulynomadly.com. Women first, so come over.
Hi guys, I'm Sharanya Iyer and I go by the handle Truly Nomadly on Instagram and on my blog. So yeah, I am yet another solo female traveler, but while the travel community is now quite used to us, generally in India, going by the kind of questions I get and all of us get, solo traveling is still a big taboo. You know, how do you tell your parents, how do you go here, how do you go there? So that's kind of something that I've been trying to break over the past year and a half. And I recently spent 2 months in the stans of Central Asia, that's Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan alone, and I think that has helped me see the power of strong storytelling to really influence a person to go and do something that they thought they might never be able to do. And I think that's what we're going to talk about today, so over to the next.
Great, you can take a seat and we'll have you talk more later. Okay, so would you like to live from a lounge? Anybody? Well, we have somebody who actually does that. So there is Ajay Awtaney, founder and editor of livefromalounge.com. May we have you here?
Hi guys, good afternoon and thank you for having me over. It's actually, what I do is I run a website called Life from a Lounge. It's focused on how to help you travel better using all your everyday hacks in the sense of using your credit and how to make your travel better by using, let's say, airport lounges, finding the best flights, all of that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in traveling better, come around, visit us at livefromalounge.com or follow me on the social handles where you'll find all sorts of information about your next trip already from us.
Thank you. Please have a seat. Mountain trekker, that's what he calls himself because of the love for the mountains. So we have Varun Vagish here. Would you please join us on stage? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Varun. Am I audible? Am I audible now? Hi, my name is Varun. Acha, how many of you can understand Hindi? Just want to... Okay. Okay, तो हिंदी में बात कर सकते हैं. Okay, एक छोटा सा YouTube चैनल है मेरा, Mountain Trekker, करीब 6,50,000 सब्सक्राइबर्स हैं उस पर. Thanks to all of you. और आज हम लोग यहाँ गप्पे मारेंगे बैठकर. Thank you.
Thank you, Varun. the love for samosa is bringing social samosa here to join us pre-lunch session. So can I request Mr. Hitesh Rajwani? I hope that introduction was okay. We are expecting a lot of masala from this. So if you could please be the moderator and tell us a little more about the session.
Hi guys, I'm Hitesh. I run this online media publication called as Social Samosa. We cover everything and anything that happens in the social media space in India. So I won't take much time in terms of introductions, but the format of this panel has been tweaked a little, and we're going to start with a rapid fire with these travel influencers and try to understand what really works and what doesn't. So before I head to that, I just want to understand how many of you are here from the brand management slash business, travel business owner side? I mean, travel business owners with a raise of hand. Okay. And how many of you are travel marketers per se? I mean, okay. And any travel influencers or bloggers here? Okay, okay. So we'll try to tweak like the content of the panel accordingly, according to the expectations which are there. So quickly, like it's not a coffee with Karan, but this is more of samosas with Hitesh, which we are starting. And I would start it with Varun, since Varun is known as mountain trekker. So would you, Varun, could you tell us which is that favorite mountain you've ever been to?
Himalayas.
Himalayas.
Yeah.
Okay. And one thing that you really like about your profession as the mountain trekker?
My channel's name is Mountain Trekker. I love mountains, so I just named it Mountain Trekker. I love trekking in mountains, so this is how the channel name came out. What was your question? I didn't.
What is that one thing that you love about your profession?
I just love to travel. I just make videos and people love it. So I thought, okay, एक YouTube channel बनाते हैं और वो चल पड़ा.
Okay. Quickly to Ajay. Ajay, what is that story behind Live from a Lounge?
So I spent about 15 years in the financial services space, and when I started, there was hardly any information source for all the people who were frequently traveling on business out of India. I figured I could perhaps start putting that information out and organize it. So that's where livefromalounge.com came on board. In the sense, the time I would get for blogging at that point in time would be at the airport, sitting in that airport lounge, and that's the story behind Live from a Lounge. So over a period of time now, it's grown to millions of users, so that's a good thing. I think people now find everything they need from us. Yeah.
So what's that one favorite lounge you've ever been to, or your favorite lounge when it comes to Live from a Lounge?
So there are many actually, but the one being from Mumbai, the one that I run into most often is the Mumbai one. So the GVK lounge at Mumbai is fabulous, and I never pass up an opportunity to go inside.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Quickly, Sharanya, are you a mountain person or a beach person?
The toughest question ever asked. No, that pendulum keeps swaying, but I think I'm more of an ocean girl, but I love the mountains, so give me both together and I'm the happiest girl in the world. So yeah.
Okay, you're not getting the hamper in that case because
I'm not. I'm diplomatic. This is not diplomatic. I can't like both together.
But you can choose one, right?
No.
Okay.
I want both.
Right. So,
we have both. I want both.
So what's that favorite destination in that case? I mean,
I've loved Kyrgyzstan for its mountainous terrain and just how raw it is in terms of its nature.
It is.
Yeah, and Uzbekistan for its architecture.
Okay.
And Iceland for its.
Okay.
Again, yeah.
Quickly, Priyanka. So, could you tell us a bit more about why the handle DesiGirl Traveler?
So about 10 years ago, I was on bed rest. I was not feeling well, and I watched something about Jacqueline Fernandez because I love her so much. And there's some words she had used about being Desi in India, and something it just stuck in my head. And I was like, if at all someday I have anything on digital, it's gonna be DesiGirl Traveler. So I had a job back then. I never thought that I'm going to have something in digital part. But then, yeah, when I decided to have a YouTube channel, I thought, okay, let me put a name as DesiGirl Traveler because I love traveling, I love shopping, and I love food as well. So that's all. Nothing much to it.
Okay. And if you had to choose, what would you choose? Would it be a samosa or it would be nachos?
Sorry, samosa and?
Samosa or nachos?
I think nachos because I don't like oily food. But that does not define that I'm not a desi girl. It's just because I don't like oily food. So yeah, that's samosa.
Okay, all right. So we'll quickly start the topic of discussion here. I'm assuming all of you here know who's an influencer, how do you define an influencer. But just to give a context to where we are coming from, in our understanding, an influencer is a person who has an opinion, and that opinion manages to affect behavior. That opinion could be coming from someone who's very close to me as a person, could be coming to me from someone who's a domain expert in that particular field, could be like a relative of mine. So when we try to complexify definitions, it's a different ball game altogether. But an influencer could be anyone. It could be my father's friend who's been to Uttarakhand and he is giving me certain tips to travel. It could be that particular employee in my office who's recently gone to Jammu and Kashmir and he's telling me that, Hitesh, because you're a foodie, these are certain places you should definitely try. So that's as simple as what you could define influencer to be. But I would like to ask Ajay, how do you define influencers, and what is the context of influencers in travel per se?
See, like you already used the term, Hitesh, people who are domain experts for me or my friends and family, those are the two kind of influencers I look up to. These are people, I mean, for instance, my niche is, I know perhaps in this room the best about airplanes. So if you're going to ask me about a 787 versus an A350, I can answer that for you and give you a 2-hour discourse on that. But if you were to ask me, go to Switzerland or go to Srinagar, I can give you just very generic context about it because I have been to both the places, but it's just up to you about what you like better. So I think influencers are people who know the subject they are having an opinion about, and on top of that, they should also be somebody whose taste sort of should match the kind of stuff that you're looking out for. So that's my very simple yardstick of who's an influencer and how they help me make a decision or not.
Do you have anything else to add to it, Sharanya?
Yeah, I think as a consumer, as an audience, it also matters to me. Before I became an influencer, it mattered to me how authentic the content that they were putting out was. Because someone might have an opinion, but if it's not consistent and it's not, quality content over time, then I may not. So I think an influencer has to constantly be putting out very relatable and interactive content for you to be able to trust in them over time and go back to them with your questions. And like he said, of course, it matters that their way of travel, because we're talking about travel, matches with yours. People who come to me talk to me about solo traveling or budget travel. Someone who wants to go glamping or live in a luxury hotel in the Swiss Alps is not going to come to me. And if I suddenly tomorrow started talking about that, that would be very off. So I think you have to be very true to your niche in many ways. You don't have to stick to it, but you have to kind of be true to what you're doing. So yeah.
Moving on, I mean, Varun, if you could tell us, so we are clear with what an influencer is. Does anyone in the audience have anything else to add to the definition of influencer, or if you have any doubts on what influencer marketing is per se? Anyone? We'll keep it interactive. We want to know what you really want to know, I mean, at the end of the day. Fair enough, we'll move on. So, Varun, if you could tell us what are the roles an influencer plays in the part to purchase journey for a travel brand? Or, like, to put it in simple terms, what are the factors a traveler would consider while making a travel purchase? Is it beat a flight, booking a flight, beat booking an accommodation? Do you think an influencer has a role to play in helping that particular traveler, or how does a typical traveler journey goes about, I mean, from path to purchase?
I think, to to be a travel influencer, you have to be a traveler first. Because a traveler, the experiences, for example, if I talk about my channel, the experiences which I share on my channel, people come to know about what I am facing while doing a particular activity and how the particular activity really is. How is the planning in Mauritius? How is booking? How tough is booking a bus ticket in Turkey? Or how is Kazakhstan? How are the people over there? And how is Pakistan for Indians? So experience matters a lot. So I think I'm able to answer the question properly.
So the experience matters, but where do you think an influencer plays a role for the end consumer in terms of travel? So ideally a traveler,
yeah.
How do you think that they make a decision basis what an influencer suggests, basis the experiences from that influencer, or it's a mix of both? I mean, it's...
if I talk about my channel, I get a lot of comments. I also operate a Facebook group. It has more than 100,000 members. So when they reply that they got influenced by the style of travel that I do, I travel solo most of the time. I travel as a backpacker. So they get influenced. A lot of solo girls, a lot of Indians, because I make videos in Hindi. I make videos for the people who are based in India or in the subcontinent, like in Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal and all. So when they see this is someone who is just like me, he can travel solo to this particular part of the world, then why can't I? And I share all my experiences on my video. So I think when I really look into the comments, I think, yes, my videos play a very important role in influencing people.
And Priyanka, if you had to answer, like if you put yourself in the shoes of a traveler, how would you decide on that next travel purchase? How would you book that next destination? What would be the process for you to say, if you had to travel to Kazakhstan, what would be the typical journey you'll follow, like as a consumer for travel, not as an influencer, but as a consumer for travel?
So for me, first, definitely I will want to decide on the budget, what is there in my budget. So before coming to, deciding on Kazakhstan, I will want to see which are the places I can travel in my budget. So price definitely one very important point for me. And second thing, I would go to YouTube more because I trust YouTube content better than any other platform because I can see it visually. More than reading the content, I like to be watching the experience or how the place looks like, or the host who is hosting the show, how's the place in terms of like in her or his language. So YouTube is one platform I would be looking for. And then definitely, as I talked about price, so I will be checking for like hotels which is cheap, like definitely in my pocket, and I will prefer to stay in a hostel than staying in a hotel because I always try to travel in budget. So those are the things, yeah.
In that case, you should follow Sharanya because she's
definitely
a budget traveler.
Sharanya, yeah.
Okay. So Sharanya, if we extend this cycle itself, now she's looking to travel in Kazakhstan, and like the factors to consider for her is price point, and the other is that she consumes a lot of YouTube content. So as probably like a travel influencer for Kazakhstan tourism, what is the kind of content you think would work for them with influencers? And if there are people like Priyanka, there are more than enough people like Priyanka, what is it that would work for brands in Kazakhstan when it comes to working with influencers?
So yeah, I myself was a potential Kazakhstan tourist before I went there, and for a lot of us, places like that in that region, safety is a big concern. We know next to nothing about it. Now over the past year or two, we've started seeing some content from there, but before that it was always this like dark place. No one really knows about it. No one really knows if it's safe, if the language is a concern. So the kind of content people want to see from places like this, I think, is to kind of simplify it. They want to see that it's very possible to do it. It's possible to do it on a budget. It's safe to do solo. you'll get by with the food, with what you're eating, and that there are hostels to stay in, that they're hygienic. So I think there are a bunch of factors, and I think as an influencer, I've played a role, not in flight bookings, not in overall budget, but I've played a big role in first making it an okay destination. People are now convinced moderately to at least start looking at it as their next trip. Secondly, they know that there is accommodation, and they come to me for recommendations on tours, how to get to a particular point, local transport. So those are all the tiny things that they come to you for, but I think when it comes down to booking their trip, flights and all of that, they don't really go to an influencer to say, should I book flight A versus flight B? I think consumers think that they can do that themselves, depending on the day when they're booking. But yeah, these are the finer factors that help them demystify a place. And I think that's where influencers come in. Yeah.
The point you're trying to tell is that like you can help people understand the destination better, answer the apprehensions which they might have about the destination. But when it comes to that purchase decision, you think influencers may or may not have a role to play?
Yeah, because there are a bunch of different factors. Are you a mountain person? Are you someone who wants the challenge of going to a place that is relatively more challenging than going on a Euro trip or going somewhere within India? Because there are a lot of challenges that you have to face that you may not have faced before. Language, food, being alone in a place where no one knows you. These are things that then depends on the mindset of the consumer at that point. So yeah.
Okay. Guys, do you have any questions at this point in time?
So I think, Hitesh, I want to add to that discussion before we move on.
Yeah.
I think the three stages of the travel purchase decision, right? There's inspiration, then there is shopping, and then there is the decision stage. I think a lot of travel influence at this point of time is focusing on one subpart of the first part, which is, like my co-panelists mentioned, they're more focused on the raising the awareness part. But I think, you know, and they're very niche places then, like my website, where then people come when they've decided that they want to go somewhere. I think while there are a lot of people who buy just using price, using, let's say, Skyscanner, or they're just hunting for the best deal, there are also a lot of people, I think, as you go up the value chain, people have very, let's say, a very set mindset. And as they go along, they then, you know, let's say, only want to fly a certain carrier or a certain thing. So they'll come, they'll look that up, and they'll say, okay, I want to fly, let's say, Etihad Airways to the US. Why would I want to do that? Because there's pre-check at Abu Dhabi over, let's say, Emirates, which is like 30 minutes down the road, but then you have to arrive in the US and wait for 2 hours to get your immigration check done. So I think people, a lot of travel influence is focused on the first part of this travel decision journey, which is awareness / inspiration. But once people have made up their mind, I think there is, to a limited extent, there's a lot of content available on the second stage also, where people get actionable intelligence on, you know, what do they want to do, and like Qatar Airways over Etihad over Emirates, and then perhaps they can complete their travel purchase also using those people as well sometimes. Like, I know of influencers who are also, you know, travel shoppers.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I feel that we have an influence on people's purchase, decision of like traveling to a particular place, because any of the communication, it goes through 4 phases, like awareness, you have interest, then desire, and then action. So let's say, for example, for MP tourism, many people, we all have watched that MP Alag Hai and sort of things. So people already get an idea, okay, that place is different. That there's like aware about the fact that the place is different, but the desire to go to that place, I think that's the point where we influencers come in picture, because we give them a desire by our content. So many a times, because I travel solo, I'm a girl, and then many girls, they keep writing to me that after watching your video or you taking the courage to go to a particular place, we have decided to go there, or I can convince my parents to go there. So I think definitely we have some sort of influence in that. Yeah.
Okay. So my question to the audience now, do you think, like, have you all, like the business owners or the marketers who are here, have you all worked with influencers before, and what was that kind of expectation from that influencer? Was it, like Ajay pointed, awareness and inspiration about a particular destination or a product or a service, or it was like you were expecting certain conversions out of that particular collaboration or engagement? I think someone back there had raised their hand as a marketer, if you could answer. Anyone, I mean. Yeah.
Hi. I think, so I've collaborated with a few influencers recently. I think for a brand, the key is to attach itself to authenticity. So what these people stand for is authenticity. So any brand who's looking for a long-term association or benefits will not probably look for short-term conversions through influencers. It's more that I want to associate myself with the values that they stand for. And therefore my brand wants to stand for those values.
And what was your experience with it?
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, it was a great experience. Because more than business, you're actually thinking about building a community by associating with people like that. And you then attract the right sort of people who believe in what you're doing. And therefore, you're not just selling something to people, but you're creating something interesting by associating with these people.
So actually, I'll rather speaking in English. मैं आपसे हिंदी में सवाल पूछूंगा वरुण से एंड आपके लिए भी हितेश. हिंदी में जो आप ब्लॉगिंग देख रहे हैं, ट्रैवल ब्लॉगिंग, आगे 2019 में या आने वाले सालों में ना सिर्फ हिंदी बट बाकी अगर रीजनल भाषाओं की बात करें, कन्नड़ा हो गई, मराठी हो गई, आप खासकर देखते होंगे कि क्या और लोग जो ट्रैवल कर रहे हैं वो अपनी भाषा में कंटेंट क्रिएट कर रहे हैं या नहीं, तो उसके बारे में आप क्या बोलेंगे?
मैं तो अपने चैनल का एग्जांपल कोट कर सकता हूँ. मैं एक जर्नलिज्म, मेरा बैकग्राउंड रहा है, जर्नलिज्म मैंने किया और मुझे तो मेरे जो साथ के बहुत सारे जो लोग जर्नलिज्म करके आए थे, हमको कहा जाता था कि यार हिंदी का कोई फ्यूचर नहीं है. बट आज मैं देखता हूँ मेरा चैनल इज़ द बेस्ट एग्जांपल दैट इज़ इन हिंदी. और उसके सक्सेसफुल होने का कारण सिर्फ उसके हिंदी होने का था, क्योंकि वो सीधा जुड़ता है यहाँ के रहने वाले आम लोगों के साथ में. और जैसा मैंने पहले भी बताया कि ये मेरे जैसा बनता है, जब ये घूम सकता है तो क्यों नहीं मैं भी घूम सकता हूँ. मुझे लगता है वो एक ऐसा एलिमेंट है जो कनेक्ट करता है मुझे मेरे ऑडियंस के साथ में. और शायद मैंने कुछ ऐसे जैसे आपका सवाल था, कुछ और लैंग्वेजेस में भी ऐसे ट्रैवल इन्फ्लुएंसर्स हैं या नहीं. सो आई हैव सीन अ फ्यू इन्फ्लुएंसर्स जो मलयालम में, कुछ और भाषाओं में भी बनाते हैं, और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है, बिकॉज अल्टीमेटली यू एनकरेज, यू इंस्पायर पीपल ऑफ आवर कंट्री टू सी द वर्ल्ड, टू ट्रैवल द वर्ल्ड, और ये बहुत अच्छी बात है.
Mr. Sesh has a question.
Hi, my question is, the advertorials have become news in today's world. Nobody says it's an advertorial. Anybody can push any content based on the influencing that happens. So my question is, when the influencers are working on content, how much of influencing is being done by them, by the brands?
Ajay, you would like to take that? Can you please explain the question? What?
You can explain.
So the question is that with the kind of advertorials or the paid content which is coming out there, how much of the influence actually happens from an influencer for a brand's certain objective? Do influencers really influence the opinion? Or
I would like to quote an example. I endorsed a particular brand which is into booking flights, hotels and all. And they asked me to, they actually, when I did the collaboration with that particular brand, they gave me an appreciation letter and they said we never got this much of response in India, from India. So उनका जो number of app downloads था वो massive था. So travel influencer actually plays a very important role.
So, Shesh, to answer your question, in my perspective, I think there are two different, so people come to influencer when, like everyone agrees, they're a domain expert or they have an authentic voice, right? So your question is, when does that voice stop being authentic? I think in that case, when I do a partnership with someone, I always make disclosures that this is sponsored content, and that's the way we go about it. So there's content that that does not have sway on the rest of our editorial content, but when there's something that's been paid for or bartered or partnered in some or the other way, we always make a disclosure so that the reader can judge for him or herself that this is useful or not, basis the fact that it's paid for.
But do you think the moment you put a disclosure or the moment you say that it's a partner or sponsored content, do you think the impact on the people following you for that piece of content would reduce, would decline?
See, I think it depends on the amount of, I go back to the first part, right? It's about the trust your readership has in you. You know, I have guys who I worked with, read me for over 8 years. So they know I will not, let's say, start hawking something tomorrow that I don't believe in. Okay, so at the end of the day, for any publication, be it mainstream media, be it self-created content, trust is everything. And then you have to go very, use that trust very judiciously, because you built your credibility over the years, and one bad call and people are gone.
Exactly. Sharanya has something to add to it.
I totally agree with what he's saying about disclosing that it is sponsored content. But I think the other thing that people come to us is because we have a community that believes in what we do. I'll give you an example. Like, I know my audience will call me out if I do something that's not in my zone. I have been an active advocate for menstrual cups. I talk about reducing your carbon footprint and about not using plastic as much as possible. Now, tomorrow, if I were to endorse a sanitary pad brand, that is diametrically opposite to what I've been talking about so far, and I know my audience will call me out on that. So I think there is a huge responsibility on an influencer also to take up stuff that is in sync with what you've been doing, because even if someone's paying me, I wouldn't want to talk about it, because I don't think that's going to translate into anything. Your audience has the power to reject what you're putting out. They make you, they can break you. So I think that's something that's very important for an influencer to know, and also for a brand to not just pick out 10 influencers who have a certain number of followers and just dispose that communication through them. You have to understand if it goes by what they believe in and what they've been talking about in the past. So I think it's very important for a brand and an influencer agency to also handpick their influencers for a campaign, and not just go with someone who has the numbers. If it doesn't match with what you've been talking about, it's not going to work.
So that's what I mean when it comes to your influencers and the path to purchase journey. And I think Priyanka and Ajay, both of them talked about awareness, consideration and conversion. So you look at 3 factors while choosing influencers, one of them being reach. So if your objective is mass awareness, then you look at numbers with that particular influencer. You don't look at anything else but numbers. But if your objective is some consideration set, you want people to be interested in a certain destination or what you're trying to sell, then you look at relevance of that influencer, the kind of following that influencer has. So say if Kazakhstan is all about mountains, then there has to be a set of influencers who cover mountains, who are mountain trekkers, who are mountaineers themselves. And the third factor is resonance. You can't connect say, a DesiGirl traveler to a luxury brand which is trying to enter in India. There has to be that match. By the time we move on, is there any other question? You have a question?
Thank you. I would like to join on that topic as well, about the relevance on the content and the information. Actually, I represent a company that work with a lot of influencers, and we work in the group tours sector. And most of the influencers actually travel solo, as most of you do. And I would like to ask you, what's the reason traveling solo? Because usually people see traveling solo and traveling in group like the two opposite things, but actually I believe that they're really similar. Let me just tell you why I think so. Usually I see that people traveling solo are doing that because they want to meet new people, they want to meet new cultures, they want to explore new destinations, and usually they travel really frequently. They don't have all of their friends are hard to follow them. And as traveling in a group, we also have that same experience, because at least when we're talking about a multinational group with different cultures, with different people from around the world, which is our product. So we actually get that same experience. You meet a lot of new people from different cultures. You have that whole experience, and you are traveling all the time with them. So you have actually more time to diverse in their culture. And for us that's important, because when we're talking to influencers, and we want their audience to understand that they're not just promoting that our business because it's opposite, but because they have always been traveling and now they just want to get something from us. But also we want to see what's your perspective on that, and how you can do you see the same thing as I can see, that also the group travel could be really similar to the solo traveler in that aspect. Thank you.
I think the one big difference is that solo travelers want to control their journey. They don't want to outsource that. I think that is a major part of why solo travelers choose to travel alone. But I think a lot of us, I love group trips also, because that also gives me the access to socialize and kind of relinquish the control. Sometimes you don't want to get into the planning and the itinerary and all that. So I think a lot of us also do group trips. Why we veer towards solo traveling, I think, is because we don't want to abide by anyone else's timeline. I want to wake up early and go somewhere. The next day I may not want to wake up early and start my day at noon. So I think the flexibility is a big aspect to solo travel, which is very appealing to me. So yeah.
For me, just because of solo traveling, it gives me opportunity to meet the locals, to explore the actual culture of the place. So I prefer. Was solo traveling versus group traveling? You mean to why I love solo traveling? Yeah.
So I would like to answer to that. I started solo traveling because I come from a very small town of India, and I had a very orthodox parents, and they never let me go out of the house because they was always worried that you being a girl, you have to be at home. They was always worried whenever I was out of the house that if she is safe or not. So when I the main reason for me to travel solo was I wanted to see how safe India is in terms of a girl traveling solo in different parts of India. And when I started traveling, a lot of things also I learned. Then first thing was, when I started traveling solo, I learned a lot from people surrounding me. I had enough time for myself to actually get into the place, which is not typically possible when you are traveling with a group. And like what Sharanya also mentioned, that when you are traveling with a group, you have a proper agenda to follow, and everything is like fixed, and you don't really get much time to explore the place in terms of how you would like to. Yeah, so that's my bit.
To quickly wrap up, last two questions. One being, there's this huge amount of talk about fake influencers and people buying out followers, and then these guys go and pitch to brands on the basis of their reach. So what is your take on the whole idea of fake influencers? Because at the end of the day, it affects the ecosystem at large. It affects your credibility and authenticity as well, because if people start questioning influencers as a keyword, then you are also part of that whole community. So if a few of you would like to answer this.
I can just say, बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत लगती है एक वीडियो को बनाने के लिए। 15 मिनट का एक वीडियो के पीछे आप इतना ट्रैवल करते हैं, इतनी ज़्यादा एडिटिंग, इतने ज़्यादा एफर्ट्स हैं, बहुत टाइम लगता है बहुत सारे लोगों को आपके साथ में जोड़ने के लिए। सिर्फ एक अरेंजमेंट के लिए, कोलैबोरेशन, ज़रा से पैसे कमाने के लिए सब पीछे रह जाएगा। सो यू हैव टू बी लॉयल टू योर व्यूअर्स फर्स्ट, देन अंडरस्टैंड द ब्रांड, what they really want. So you have to basically make a balance between you have to make them understand the brand. See, this is what I can do for you, and this is what should be done if you are really interested to be with us. So, but सबसे पहली प्रायोरिटी मेरे लिए मेरे ऑडियंस हैं, मेरे व्यूअर्स हैं, जिन्होंने मुझे यहाँ तक पहुँचाया है। तभी उनकी वजह से ये जो इतने सारे लोग हैं, इतने सारे नंबर्स आपको दिख रहे हैं, उनकी वजह से आप मेरे पास में आए हैं। सो प्लीज़ बी लॉयल टू योर व्यूअर्स फर्स्ट एंड देन कंसिडर द ब्रांड्स।
Okay.
So Hitesh, I think, like I said, this influence marketing, not just in India, globally, is a nascent thing. I think people used to influence their relatives, their friends, and now via social media, apparently they influence a lot of other people. So this, I think, a good marketing person or a good agency who's the go-between between brands and people, influencers, would have the tools to validate who's the authentic thing and who's not so authentic. And but I think because brands don't understand at this point of time, like you mentioned yourself, I think the only way for them to see ROI is numbers at this point of time, and this is where they're the ones promoting this culture of forcing people to buy followers or do whatever they have to. I've been asked by people, why do you have with all that content only 10,000 followers on Instagram? Why don't you go buy some? And I'm like, because we need more ROI on our content. And I said, fine, let's not work anymore together. If that's because when I give you somebody who comes by me, his lifetime value for you is going to be thousands of rupees or lakhs of rupees. That's the niche I deal with. So do you want numbers or do you want just number of views? I think it starts at the brands because they have to set the protocol.
Absolutely agree. I think influencer marketing is such a number-driven game right now. It's not content, it's numbers, and I think there has to be a fine balance. Obviously, someone could create the best content in the world, but I understand that they have only 200 followers. That's not going to work for a brand, but there has to be a lot more balance between content and numbers, and I think that comes from PR agencies and brands. They ask you to buy followers, they ask you to go out there and do it, and people are chasing that goal right now, and that's where this is happening, I think. But it's changing. I know a lot of people who also look at, who study, like speaking of Instagram purely, I know people now look for comments. You can see it's apparent when someone's bought followers, they don't have engagement on their posts. Yeah. They're just getting the likes, which also come in from bots. But when you don't see interaction, when you don't see comments, I think some of them are trying to understand now that you have to see what kind of community this person has, and it's not just numbers, which can't really be tracked into conversions. So, yeah.
So ultimately what matters is the conversion what you have. So now let's say I took a trip to Spiti recently, and I worked with a brand for that. I went in collaboration with a brand. So on that video particularly, though I have like 20,000 subscribers, that video has just 20,000 around views. So many people, they kept judging me that you have so many views and subscribers, then why only a limited number of views on that particular episode. So I don't know what went wrong, but then what was the good thing that even though it had only 20,000 views or something, the brand still got a lot of conversion on that. They got booking through my video. So in Spiti, when I was traveling and doing all the activities and all, many girls, they felt that they should be going to Spiti, and then the conversion happened. So many times I get asked by brands and all that, how come you have good number of subscribers on your YouTube, but then Instagram you have, like I hardly have 7,000 followers on Instagram. That's only because I'm interested more in making the video than clicking pictures. I mean, I enjoy YouTube more than having Instagram, but having said that, I particularly have lost a lot of projects because brands, they feel that I don't have much engagement on Instagram, and they just, I mean, it's kind of a pressure from brands end only, and ultimately I would suggest that whatever it is, you have to see the engagement that's happening on the content. So for any particular post, even on Instagram, let's say with 7,000 followers on Instagram, still get 2,000 to 2,500 views on my stories, and I feel that's pretty good number. So yeah, that's my thing.
All right. Any other questions, or else we'll just close on the panel? I mean, yeah.
You want to pass the mic? Oh, okay. Yes.
Very quickly, you were on the, what do you call, traveler scene before the term influencer marketing.
Yes.
So how does it feel from the before and now that the number game is there and the competition is there? You were traveling the Himalayas and you never shot the footage, and then you started doing it some years ago. So how is it before and after, when it's all,
I feel more responsible because a lot of people, they look at me. So yes, I was very camera shy 2 years back. I have been traveling. I started traveling from Sahyadris, from the mountains, then to Himalayas. So, but none of the pictures, किसी भी फोटो में मैं खुद नज़र नहीं आता था, और मेरे घर वालों को बहुत ज़्यादा शिकायत ये होती थी. So, but today I have around 615,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel and few on Facebook, Instagram and all. So I feel more responsible now.
Great. It was an engaging session. There is one more question. Oh, okay. We have to quickly wrap up this one. Okay. So we were wanting to present the mementos and kind of do a roundup.
Yeah.
Do you have another question?
Yeah, just one question.
Sure.
If you can, yeah. Thanks for your insightful discussion over here. I'm a brand consultant, so when you're talking about brands, I had one thing to ask. What is the future of influencer marketing down 5 years?
The future, ask me the future of influencer marketing, you have to look at the whole gamut of digital advertising per se. So digital advertising today in India is placed at anything around 11,000 crores, and it is expected to touch about 25,000 crores by 21. And if I look at influencer marketing out of that digital pie, it's about 10 to 15% is what brands invest into influencers in their digital budget. So that is the precise number we are looking at for the industry. When you ask me the future, there's a lot of course correction to happen. You'll see that these fake influencers would be needed out. There's a lot of education which would happen on the brand side, because like you clearly see, the people who've grown naturally or organically as influencers, they have this hunch against brands that they just ask for numbers, and they have certain KPIs which are blindsided. If you work with an influencer for a year and let that part to purchase journey happen over a period of time, then you might expect conversions also happening through that influencer. But if it is yet one mass one-time engagement which you're having with that person, you might not really get the kind of results you're expecting. So there has to be an expectation balance which has to come across. And if and this is like a closing thought also for this panel, that if you as a brand owner or a business owner is looking at returns from influencers, look at a long-term approach, look at identifying the key strengths of that particular influencer. There might be some influencers who are just there for your awareness purpose. Like I said earlier, they might not give you any conversions, they'll just give you numbers. So you just work with them if you just want those vanity numbers. If you're looking at considerations, if you're looking at conversions for your particular offering, then you should work with influencers which are relevant, which resonate with your brand, and work with them on a long-term basis rather than just doing a one-off engagement with them. So the global brands who've done really great in terms of influencer marketing, be it an Airbnb or even tourism boards which are doing well, even Skyscanner which does well, all of them have a great relationship with influencers, and that is not like a one-off thing, it is something which is consistent over years.
I think I just want to add to that, Hitesh. So everything you said, but a little more than that. I think the platforms are now, so for instance, Instagram is building tools now to do conversions. And I think this is going to be the next big thing, where it's starting with other smaller ticket items at this point in time. But at some point in time, I'm guessing there will be a way to crack this for travel as well, where ROI will be measured by how much are you able to sell, and it could be over a shorter period of time. It could be, I think the best way to do it is over a period of time. First the brand building phase and then the conversion phase. But yeah, there are brands who are in a hurry. So smaller ticket items should be able to fly pretty fast off the shelf with the influencer marketing, because at the end of the day, your job is to sell a product.
Thank you, Vedant.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our online friends, the influencers. I hope they have been able to influence your decision or your travel goals for 2019. We will be presenting you the mementos in a bit, and we would like to start with the next session. So I hope you all stay put, because there's a lot coming your way. So thank you, panelists.
Thank you.
A big round of applause for them.